All right, so now we want to get our Autodesk 3ds Max lamps into Create. Configure them a little bit and then get them into the warehouse. So let's go ahead and do that. I've already actually done that. I've exported all three components, the attachment, the stem, and the lamp into, into Create here. And I'm just going to one more extra one because the lamps are actually, because the steel supports are sloped inside the warehouse, we're going to need to have one stem longer than the other. So I'm just selecting the stem, export selected, and I'm going to call this lamp stem long. And when I export that, you'll see it show up here. So lamp stem long. So we have short, long, we got the whole bit. Now let's go ahead and put these together. So let's go ahead and do that. So back here in Create, I have a new stage up. And I'm just going to separate out my layer panel like I do. And I'm going to take lamp attachment, add it as a layer, lamp lights, add it as a layer, and then I'm going to grab stem short for now and add that as a layer. And you can shuffle these layers around however you like. Okay, so let's add some materials here. So I'm going to use Create Materials for this, and you can find that down here under your Materials panel. And if I expand the stage here, whoops, I'm going to select all the stuff that I want material for. So I want aluminum cast to be on the lamp, on the attachment, and on the hanger. So those three things are going to get this aluminum cast. So I'm going to double click on it, and voila. And then for the lamp wire, I'm actually going to search for rubber, double click on rubber smooth, and now I have, you know, pretty decent looking material on this lamp. The one thing I'm missing is the bulb. So I'm going to select on lamp emission here, come down to emissives, close that. I'll select this first light. That's good. And you can see here in my material, in the properties, the material for the object is that light I just selected. So I'm going to go in and edit that. And under emissive here, I'm going to pump that up to like 25,000. And you can edit this as much as you like. All right, so let's go ahead and save this file. So save as. And in lamps, I guess I'll go into light mesh here. Well, I'll keep that separate. I'll go lamps, short, physics. Okay, and now let's apply some physics to this. So I want to get this swingy motion, right, where the lamp is pivoting on the hanger and the hanger is pivoting on the attachment. All right, so I'm going to select the light stem and the light mesh, because those are the two things I want rigid bodies on. So I'm going to right click on those, add physics, rigid body with collider, and then I'm going to right click on the attachment, add physics, colliders only. All right, once that's done, I'm going to select the lamp and the stem here. I'm going to right click, create, physics, joint, and then spherical joint. And you can see those turn green. If you don't have rigid bodies or a collider on them, they're going to be red, which tell you there's an issue. And then also I want for my light attachment and light stem, I want another one because we want to pivot up there. So again, right click, create, physics, joint, and spherical joint. Okay, so now that that's done, let's go ahead and give this a test. Press space bar. All right. So that's wrong. And this may just be a matter of placement. Yes. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the spherical joint 0, I'm going to move it up under light attachment. And then if you scroll down in the properties down here, you can see that body 0 is the stem, body 1 is the attachment. That's fine. We want to come up here to the eyeball, which is our view filter, show by type, physics, and joints. Okay, so joints are on. It looks like they're all up here, which is not what we're looking for. So let's grab the light attachment. That is right. The second one, which is the articulation between the stem and the lamp, that needs to be moved down. So we're going to come down here to light position 0, light position 1. We see that body 0 is our light stem, body 1 is our lights. And I'm just going to move that down to about there, and then I'll move this guy down to about just a little bit above it. Okay, now let's test. All right, so that's much better. The only issue now is that it's just going to continue to swing like forever, and it'll come to a rest eventually, but it will look weird in our warehouse stage. We want these things to come back to a rest. So that's really easy to do. We're just going to come over here to SM Lights, scroll down into the rigid body physics, and we're going to set the linear damping to 0.5 and the angular damping to 0.5. Go ahead and save that. Now let's test this again. And as you can see, it kind of settles here pretty easily. All right, much better. Now let's create our long stem lamp, because we have two types of lamps because of the slope of the steel supports in the warehouse stage. We're going to need two, one with a longer stem and one with a shorter stem, and that's why I created the longer stem. That's why I exported a separate long stem. All right, so let's put that together. All right, so we have lamp short physics, and we actually want to create lamp long physics. So I'm just going to save this as lamp long physics. Good. And with lamp long physics now open, I'm going to go to my layer tab, split it out again, and go back into my lights mesh, and I'm going to add lamp stem long as a layer that's sitting, and I'm going to save that. And now that's sitting above my lamp short. And it's actually going to override it in the stage. You notice that my stage hierarchy did not change at all, even though I've added another object, and that's just how layers work. If two things share the same path in the stage hierarchy, then the layer on top will overwrite the layer underneath it, and that's what I've done here. So now we're going to be able to extend that stem when we get into the warehouse, but only on the long meshes. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so now back in the World Demo Pack folder, I'm going to start adding the lamps we just created. So I'm going to grab my lamps master here. I'm going to add that as a layer into the stage, and we'll let that compile for a moment. All right, so that's in. I'm going to save this. So the first thing I notice is that I forgot to delete the default light from the lamps master file. So we do have lights in that file, but we don't want the big sunlight, which is the direct light, which is this default light right here. So what I want to do is I'm going to double click on lamps master to make it my authoring layer. And then I can simply delete the default light. And it has actually deleted it from that stage, because you can see the stage is now in a blue state on the save icon, which means something's changed on that layer. And do you want to save that change that you made to that layer? You got to be really careful here. Sometimes you don't want that, and if you push changes back down into the layer stack, you could mess up somebody else's work. So just make sure that you know when you're doing that what you're doing and why that's changed. All right, then we're going to save that. And now all the changes that I make to these two lamp references are going to be, they're going to propagate into this lamp master because it is the authoring layer. So when I brought those in, of course, they're over here somewhere at 0. And if I can just select those guys, I'm going to move them on into the warehouse. And then, whoops, sorry, we're going to just bring them around, bring them up. And I want to grab lamp stem long here, and I want to move it out to there. And we want these guys to basically be splitting the racks. So when the racks fall, they're going to hit them. Now we'll move it up. Oh, close. There we go. Then maybe just down a little bit here. Good. Lamp stem long. We want to move that up. And that's why we had to do that extra step. Okay, cool. Oh, no. I'm sorry. We don't want to move it up. Now we want to move lamp stem long and attach it up there. All right, which is going to require us to have to go back into the file, but that's okay. That's why this is our authoring layer. So I'm going to live sync in here in Create. And I'm just going to drop it over here so we can see both. And then for my stem here, what I want to do is make sure that I'm connected to the right USD file, because I don't want the lamp stem short to extend when I do this. So I'm going to come to my drop down, Omniverse USD, link 3ds Max to USD file, and I want to link to lamp stem long. Okay, so once I do that, I want to be in live sync mode here. Keep my local source. And I'm going to add a FFD 2x2x2. Go into its subobject and grab the vertices. And then I'm just going to move that up. And you can see our lamp stem long moves up, but lamp short is still good. And this all makes sense. And again, we're going to have to correct the pivot problem because those pivots still live right there. But I needed to do this first before I did that. Okay, cool. And now I'm just going to grab the attachment, move it up into the ceiling, and then maybe move this down a little bit. All right, that looks good. Okay, awesome. So now get out of live sync because I don't need to be in live sync anymore. And but what we need to do is go back and fix this, because what's going to happen here is that our lamps are going to, this one's going to be wrong. Its physics will be wrong. Yeah, so I just press play in Create, and you can see, indeed, I need to fix that. So let's go ahead and we're going to save all these files now. The blue icon at the top, that will save all layers. Anything that's changed is getting saved with that blue icon, or you can just save individual layers that you've updated. And I'm going to go ahead and keep this my authoring layer while I open lamp long physics. All right, so back here in lamp long physics, I'll just go ahead and add a default light that I will probably forget to remove. But you can see up here that our pivots are still here, and actually our attachment didn't move from the other file. So that's easy to do. I'm just going to grab the attachment, slide it up about to there. And then I'm going to go in there and grab the spherical joints, and I'm going to move them up. So 0 is the stem. Okay, good. So I'm just going to move that up to about there, maybe just underneath it. And now, everything went right. Yep, all of our joints are articulating from the right positions. And that's the cool thing about the layer stack, is that because all of my changes, like the materials changes I made and the physics changes I made, they're all stored in this root layer, right? So just so long as I add something that maintains the path or has the same hierarchy in the stage as a layer below it, it's going to automatically inherit all of these delta changes that we've already made to the short lamp. So that saved me a lot of time having to go through and reset up this whole shot, or this whole stage for the warehouse. I was just able to replace one mesh and we're good to go. So now let's go back into World Demo Pack. All right, so now we're going to duplicate these lamps on down the line so that each row has a swinging lamp associated with it. And I'm going to go back into my render settings here under ray tracing. I'm going to set that to like 0.5 just so I can see it a little clearer what's going on. And then quite simply, because I have lamps master as my authoring layer, I'm just going to start. Actually, what I want to do is I'll group these first. So I'm going to select those references, press Control G to group them, double click on the group, call it lamps. And then I'm going to press Control D again to duplicate these. And I'm just going to start sliding them down. Now that we have all our lights in, let's go ahead and run a physics simulation test. I press spacebar and we're in ready to test mode. All right, awesome.